Hey guys, I'm Adam Haig from 3D Games, and in this video I show you how to paint up an Isengard Troll. Now, although this troll is themed for an Isengard force, many of the techniques are transferable and can be used for any troll from Middle-earth. I had bought a couple of painted metal trolls second-hand years ago and decided to convert an Isengard one using the plastic troll kit for the arms and shield. As you can see, the plastic arms do not match very well to the metal body, leaving ugly gaps at the join. These gaps will be filled with milliput to mask the join. I also wanted to craft some arrows sticking into him to make him look like he's in the thick of battle. To do this, I first drill holes using a pin vise where I want the arrows to go. Then clip small bits of wire to create the arrow shafts and superglue them into the drilled holes. Use milliput to fill the gaps between the body and the arms, and use sculpting tools to sculpt and smooth the join. To create the fletching on the arrows, squash a blob of milliput flat, then use a hobby knife to carve tiny feather lines. Cut little bits off and stick them to the wire arrow shafts. The whole thing was then primed black. Because this is an Isengard troll, I wanted to give the skin a reddish brown hue to match the classic look of Uruk flesh. The base colours will be a blend of Doombull Brown, Bugman's Glow and Cadian Fleshtone. Using a wet palette to get smooth blends between each of these colours really helps to create effective looking flesh. Start with a 50-50 mix of Rhinox Hide and Doombull Brown. This is painted over all areas of troll flesh. The skin on the belly and underside of the legs will become much more pale as we add layers, but the areas with the scales such as the back and front of the legs will remain this dark colour. To create a smooth blend between the dark and pale flesh, we will add successively paler skin tones and very thin, almost glaze-like layers. The first layers are added by adding small amounts of Bugman's flesh into the base mix. Next, Cadian Fleshtone is added in small amounts to further push the pale look. As I went along, I painted other areas of the model before adding more layers to the skin, but for the case of simplicity with this tutorial I will just focus on the skin alone and cover the other areas of the troll later in the video. Once we get to the point where we're using pure Cadian Fleshtone, the pale look can be pushed even further by adding small amounts of Pallid Wych flesh. Using directional brush strokes like this and brushing away from what will be the palest area creates an effective feathered blend. Use a mix of Pallid Wych flesh to highlight the raised areas of all those lovely folds on his gorgeous dad bod. The palmar side of the fingers is painted with the Cadian Fleshtone mix, using lots of lines to accentuate the finger creases. Painting thin lines on the outside of the fingers helps to give the knuckles texture. The scales are painted using Eshin Grey mixed with a little black to create a very dark grey. Pick out the raised areas of the scales, being careful to leave the dark reddish brown skin in the recesses. The scales are then highlighted with Eshin Grey, focusing on the raised upper areas that would catch the light. This is followed by an edge highlight of Dawnstone Grey. For his gaping maw, first start by painting everything with Khorne Red. Pick out the gums with Screamer Pink, then carefully dot the gums under each tooth with Pink Horror. The tongue is painted with Naggaroth Night mixed with some black. This is then highlighted with pure Naggaroth Night, followed by a final edge highlight of Genestealer Purple. The teeth are carefully picked out with XV88. They are then highlighted with Screaming Skull, then a very fine highlight of Pallid Wych flesh, focusing on the points of each tooth. The leather armour on the arms and hands and the loincloth are all painted with Rhinox Hide. As always, it pays to use 2 thin coats to ensure a nice even coverage. This is then highlighted with a 50-50 mix of Rhinox Hide with Mournfang Brown. Focus on the raised sections and areas that would catch the light. This is followed by pure Mournfang Brown and then very fine highlights of XV88. All the leather straps are painted with Eshin Grey mixed with a small amount of black. The edges are highlighted with pure Eshin Grey. Finish the straps off with a very fine edge highlight of Dawnstone Grey. To give the troll a manicure and pedicure, mix Mournfang Brown with a little black and give the toenails and fingernails a nice solid undercoat. Paint each successive layer using thin lines brushing in an outwards direction. The first layer is Mournfang Brown. Then finer lines of XV88. Followed by very fine highlights with a 50-50 mix of XV88 and Pallid Witch Flesh. Paint the shaft of the spear with an even coat of Dryad Bark. The strapping on the spear is first painted with Baneblade Brown. This is followed by a wash of strong tone from the army painter. To create a nice wood grain texture on the spear shaft, start by painting thin lines of Gorthor Brown along its length. To accentuate this look further, highlight each line of Gorthor Brown with Baneblade Brown. This goes a long way towards making what would otherwise be a boring brown stick actually look interesting. Now that the wash is dry, go back and highlight the strapping with Screaming Skull. Next is the part I've been most looking forward to, the metallics. To start, go back and tidy up any overspill onto the armour with black. To create a very simple non-metallic metals effect, base coat all metal areas with a mix of Dryad Bark and black. Paint this onto the shield, armour plates, chainmail, buckles and spear tip. Using this dark brown as a base coat really helps the troll fit the Isengard aesthetic and is a good start point for a dark grimy iron look. To help with this rusty iron look, lightly dry brush the metal areas with Mournfang Brown, focusing on the raised and textured sections. This look is then pushed further by applying highly watered down Mournfang Brown in streaks and areas where rust would pool naturally. The effect this creates is subtle and can work really well for weathering metals in this way. The white hand of Saruman is painted using Pallid Witch Flesh. Take your time and look at reference material if needed. I made a mistake and made the middle finger too thick. It's easy enough to fix up by going over it with the original black and Dryad Bark. Apply thin streaks running down from the hand to create the look of paint running. You may need to apply multiple coats of Pallid Witch Flesh to get a good even coverage. Go back over the hand with the watered down Mournfang Brown to tie it into the weathered look of the shield. Next, give all areas of metal a light dry brush of Dawnstone Grey, focusing on the raised areas and edges of the armour. Now we use Grey Seer to create the look of scuffed iron, shining through the rust and grime. Focus on catching the edges by stippling the paint. This essentially involves lots of small dots and lines to create a jagged look. Create scratches and scuffs by painting angled lines in random areas of the armour and metallic areas. Use fast strokes to achieve straight, sharp lines. This is painstaking and time-consuming, but looks great and creates an effective worn metal look. Use the darkened Dryad Bark base colour to paint some scuffs across the painted hand. Use the same stippling method along the edges of the metal plate and raised edge. Paint the shafts of the arrows with Dryad Bark, followed by a thin highlight of Gorthor Brown. The fletching is painted with Baneblade Brown. Follow this by painting very thin lines of Screaming Skull to create the impression of feathers. Now that the shield is finished, super glue it to the arm. All that's left now is to paint some troll blood. This is done with Khorne Red darkened with a small amount of black. Carefully paint little trickles of blood running down from each of the arrows. After spending so much time making the troll look pretty, we better give it a decent base. Using pieces of slate works well not only to create interesting rock formations, they also add weight, which helps reduce how top heavy the model is. Hot glue the slate onto the base. Then use Milliput to blend the slate pieces into a simple landform. While it's still pliable, press the feet of the troll firmly into the Milliput to create an indent. This will make it easy to fix the troll in place once the base is complete. Prime the Milliput with black, followed by a coat of Dryad Bark, leaving the slate untouched. Paint PVA glue to all areas onto which you will apply ground cover. Sprinkle a mix of tile grout and soil all over the base and brush the excess off the slate and clean it off the rim. Next, add a variety of coloured flocks and aggregates to achieve the look you want. The flocks that I used are listed in the description. Be sure to brush away any overspill into the troll footprints. Use a pipette to apply isopropyl alcohol all over the ground cover. Then apply matte sealant. The ISO helps the sealant to penetrate the layers of aggregate and helps activate the grout. Once dry, use PVA to attach static grass. I used an applicator for this, and used a variety of colours to build up the length by adding glue to existing layers. Next, add a range of different tufts to further add to the variety of colours and textures. Now that the base is finished, it's time to fix the troll in place and call it done. Apply superglue to the foot indents and press the troll firmly into place. I dub thee Pokey the Troll, and you will march forth to destroy the kingdom of Rohan. And anyone else who happens to cross your path. Thanks for watching, and if you found this tutorial useful, please hit like and subscribe, and hit the bell so you can catch my latest videos. I also appreciate the opportunity to engage with the community, so please drop a comment below. Thanks again for watching, and good hobbying, guys.